Pretty lofty expectations. Picked second in the league, 2 first-team All-League players. Does that put any added pressure on your team and on you?
No, not necessarily. Every year it's amazing. No matter where our team is, whether they're a bunch of babies with 10 freshmen and sophomores, or this year, everyone states that they had the same goal. That's winning the league. So the expectations that are the most important ones are the ones that we have internally. Now, external things, these predictions change every single year. You've been doing it enough now, Chris, where people have been picked hasn't always materialized that way. So it means very little. Ultimately, it's the production on the floor, but I think we have a group of young men that are really driven to try to make this season as successful as it can be, not only for themselves personally, but also what they do see as a strong senior class that they'd like to represent in a positive way.
Obviously, Zahir and Marquis, 2 premier players in the league, and there's always been said about in basketball, 1 or 2 outstanding players can really make a difference because there's only 5 guys on the floor. But you still need the rest of the team to step up. Talk about some of the role players and some of the other guys, particularly who are some guys that people around the league maybe haven't heard of, haven't noticed before, that you expect big things from, that are going to be important for you this year?
No, it's a good question. In my opinion, it's great to have 2 very talented players, but there's 3 other positions that you need a lot of production from. Because last year, we had a situation where Marquise and Zaire were playing well. In the non-conference play, they had players that were complimenting them and playing well also. We got to league play, and out of our returning players, everyone who was returning shot, I think it was maybe 32% from the floor outside of those 2. So we lost some of that offensive production. I hope this year that it'll sustain a little bit more. There's some names that you obviously would be familiar with that have helped us out. Rob Kiefer being someone that was a former Rookie of the Year. His sophomore year wasn't quite as strong as the projection that I would imagine, and now hopefully moving on to a junior, he can be more productive and more successful. Dave Buckberger, who really represents the toughness and the determination and the defense that I think our program is founded on. Obviously he can make shots, but he wears himself down so much playing defense, which is almost a good thing because he's really bought into that role. Matt Seamus, who was hurt, another senior, as I kind of try to identify those seniors, really tough and scrappy and bring some compliment to add competition for somebody like Prentice Small, who's extremely talented and dynamic, who is understanding how to play a little bit more, and playing within himself and facilitating even more, which I'm pleased to see. Michael Ojo, who played extremely well for a stretch where we won 5 games. He averaged about 10.5 points per game, and now is starting to develop a little bit more confidence and a little bit more comfort that he might be able to really contribute for us on the long term for the season. David Sastrom's developing nicely. He's been a project, but now might be able to actually go on the floor and help us out a little bit. And then you look at our sophomore class, and people who are pretty tough and play hard. John Adams, keep his focus, and he'll be able to continue to develop. Justin Maneri, who lost the entire preseason last year with an ankle surgery, that now has a year of basketball underneath his belt, that has been playing better. Jordan Hamilton's been a nice surprise as well. And then, from our freshman class, I think we have some talented players. It's too early to tell where they will fit, but I've been pleased with C.J. McCullum, a young man from Ohio. Gabe Knutson has played really well as a bigger player from Iowa. And really a pleasant surprise has been Holden Greiner, who I thought would be more of a developmental player, contributing more as a junior and a senior as he physically developed and got used to the caliber of play at the Division I level. But he's actually shown some terrific signs and flashes, which is really nice to see.
Thank you.
Obviously, he's got some ways to go, but it's been a good thing. And then rounding it out is another freshman with a lot of determination and toughness, similar to Dave Buckberger, Ryan Peters. So across the board, it's early to tell who is in those roles, but I'm pleased with the overall pieces that we have to put in place.
I asked Billy Lang this, and Pat Flannery's gone. Now Ralph Willard's gone. The matchup zone that gives everybody these headaches and nightmares seems to be pretty much gone now in the Patriot League. How happy are you to see that defense out of the league?
Well, talking about Pat Flannery, Ralph Wood, tremendous coaches, a lot of respect for them. If I'm to be totally selfish, just for our program, it's great, but it is a difference in the league, and the league has been very strong. I have a lot of confidence in the new coaches coming in, and they'll present their own new and unique challenges to their style of play, whether it's offensively or defensively. But there were some different preps. As we got ready for some opponents, there's some things that we had to tweak and adjust, and not having to worry about that per se, at least in those frames of reference, is a good thing. But who knows? New coaches will come in and we'll be scratching our heads about some other complex problem to solve for our team.
Now, I know that Sean says that at Holy Cross he hopes to run more, be more offensive. What kind of team would you rather face as a coach? A team that really emphasizes defense and slows things down on the offensive end, or a team that likes to go up and down?
You can look at it at both ways, and a little bit it just depends on how that team's structured. We have teams that transition, and they're hard to guard when they play faster because our defense is not set, our assignments aren't as clear. But at the same token, when you have the other teams that grind it out, you can make your offense really look poor and not be able to be as proficient. This last year, we actually guarded pretty well, being 13th in the country in field goal percentage defense. But at times we really had trouble scoring. So maybe alleviating some of those pressures will help us. But at the same token, we've got to defend as part of our identity to win ball games.
The league, everybody's talking about how balanced it is. How do you see it?
I would agree completely. You look at it, you've got some teams that are really good. I could go through the scenarios and the stories for each and every team. Take someone like Bucknell. In positions 1 through 5, they have at least upper echelon talent in every single position, plus now some depth. That's a team that's really scary and very dangerous. You got to guard them. Army has 7 seniors that have played a significant role and really brought a lot of toughness, and they were playing as good as anyone at the end of last year. Colgate, you take a young team that has a lot of talent, and then you infuse Kyle Romer with his leadership and the experience. Now all of a sudden that could be potentially a nightmare.
You played against Kyle in high school, didn't you?
I think you might have played against Kyle in high school. He's been around forever. It was funny to hear Emmett say, it is actually my 12th year, not Kyle's 12th year, but he raves about Kyle Romer, and I know how talented he is. To see that not only can he score but do those things is pretty impressive. And then Navy, every year they lose someone who's so impressive as an individual player, and they're still really tough. I mean, I could go on and on.